Building confidence isn't something that happens overnight. It's a process. It's built brick by brick, step by step, experience by experience. Confidence is earned. It's the result of discipline, consistency, and learning to trust yourself. I'm telling you, confidence doesn't come from outside sources. It doesn't come from someone telling you that you're great or from a string of accomplishments. No, those things help, but real confidence comes from within. It's about developing the internal belief that no matter what happens, no matter the setbacks, you can rely on yourself to handle it. And I'm telling you, life will test you on that. It will ask, are you sure you can do this? Are you strong enough? And it's in those moments that your confidence will either rise or crumble. Now, I've spent many years studying human behavior, working with people who wanted to improve their lives, their businesses, their futures. And I'm telling you, one of the foundational pillars of success, whether in business or personal life, is confidence. The kind of confidence that isn't swayed by a bad day, a harsh word, or a failed attempt. The kind of confidence that stands tall no matter what. But how do we build this type of confidence? I'm going to share with you 5 rules I've learned over the years. I've learned these rules from my mentors, from experience, and from observing other extremely successful people. And trust me, it is an art, but it's also a science. There are things you can do, actions you can take to build long-lasting confidence. Not the kind that fades when things get tough, but the kind that grows stronger with each challenge. The first rule for building long-lasting confidence is to master the small disciplines. Now, let me tell you what I mean by that. Confidence doesn't come from doing something grand once in a while. It comes from doing the little things every day, consistently, until they become second nature. You see, it's easy to overlook the small things. But what happens when you start skipping those little things? You start to weaken your foundation. Think about it. If you make a promise to yourself, even a small one, and you don't keep it, you chip away at your own self-belief. You're telling yourself in subtle ways that you can't be trusted. And if you can't trust yourself, how can you be confident? Confidence is built on trust, on knowing that you'll do what you say you'll do, even when it's hard, even when it's inconvenient. The reason this works is because you're training yourself to succeed. Every time you follow through on a small commitment, you're reinforcing the idea that you are someone who does what they say they will do. And over time, that builds a powerful foundation of trust. You're no longer relying on external validation to feel good about yourself. You've built it from within, brick by brick, day by day. But let me be clear. This doesn't mean you have to be perfect. You're going to slip up. You're going to have days where you don't meet your own standards. That's part of being human. But here's the key. When you slip up, get back on track as quickly as possible. Don't let one missed day turn into a missed week and then a missed month. The sooner you get back to your small disciplines, the less damage you'll do to your confidence. Let me ask you something. How often do you keep the promises you make to yourself? Not the big ones, like landing that job or buying that house, but the small ones. Do you follow through on your daily commitments? Because if you're not, that's where you need to start. Confidence isn't about taking giant leaps all the time. It's about taking consistent, small steps in the right direction. It's about mastering the fundamentals. I know a lot of people want to focus on the big picture, the end result. But the truth is, the big picture is made up of a lot of small details. If you neglect the small details, the big picture starts to fall apart. So if you want to build unshakable confidence, start with the small things. Make a promise to yourself today, something small and manageable, and keep it. Then do it again tomorrow and the next day. Over time, you'll see how much your confidence grows, simply because you've proven to yourself that you can be trusted. Every small discipline you master is like putting a coin in your confidence bank. At first, it may seem like you're not making much of a difference, but keep adding those coins. And one day, you'll look back and realize you've built a fortune of confidence. And that kind of confidence, the kind that's built slowly, steadily, with discipline, is the kind that lasts a lifetime. So, my friends, rule number one for building long-lasting confidence is simple. Master the small disciplines. Because if you can trust yourself with the small things, you'll be able to trust yourself with the big things when they come. Next, face your fears. Don't avoid them. Now, this one might make you a little uncomfortable, but I'm telling you, it's essential. Fear is one of the biggest confidence killers out there. It doesn't matter how much you achieve, how much you accomplish. If there's fear lingering in the background, it'll always find a way to erode your confidence. But here's the thing about fear. The more you avoid it, the stronger it gets. It starts to take up more space in your mind, and it controls your actions, your decisions. But when you face it, when you turn around and look it in the eye, you take back control. Confidence isn't the absence of fear. It's the mastery of it. It's about taking action in spite of fear. Because when you face your fears, you take away their power. You become stronger, more resilient, and your confidence grows. Every time you step into the arena of your fears, you come out a little braver, a little more sure of yourself. Now, I'm not saying you need to tackle your biggest fears all at once. Start small. The key is to get in the habit of facing your fears rather than running from them. Because here's the truth. Fear never goes away completely. It's always there, waiting for the right moment to creep back in. But the more you face it, the less control it has over you. Let me ask you something. What are you afraid of right now? What's the one thing you've been avoiding because it makes you uncomfortable? Maybe it's a difficult conversation you need to have, or a goal you've been putting off because you're afraid you won't succeed. Whatever it is, I challenge you to take a step toward it today. It doesn't have to be a giant leap, just a step. Because every step you take toward your fear is a step toward building unshakable confidence. You see, fear is an illusion. It feels real in the moment, but when you push through it, you realize it's just a barrier your mind has created. And once you break through that barrier, you're free. Free to take risks, free to fail, free to succeed. And that freedom, my friends, is the essence of confidence. I've seen so many people hold themselves back because of fear. They have the talent, the skills, the ability, but they let fear stop them from reaching their full potential. Don't let that be you. Don't let fear rob you of the life you could be living. The life of confidence, of purpose, of fulfillment. Remember this, The thing you fear the most is often the thing that will help you grow the most. It's not a coincidence. Fear is like a signpost pointing you toward the areas of your life that need the most work. So when you feel that fear creeping in, don't run from it. Use it as a guide. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? And then take action. Because confidence comes from action, not from avoiding what scares you. So if you want to build lasting confidence, don't shy away from fear. Don't let it dictate your choices. Face it head on. Challenge it. Push through it. And watch as your confidence grows with each victory, no matter how small. The more you face your fears, the less they control you, and the more control you have over your own life. That's rule number 2, my friends. Face your fears. Because confidence is born in the fire of fear. It's forged in those moments when you step up, despite the fear, and prove to yourself that you are stronger than you thought. Next, invest in self-education. Now, I can't stress this enough. Knowledge is power, but it's not just any knowledge that leads to confidence. It's knowledge that's applied, knowledge that's relevant to your goals, your dreams, and your challenges. The more you know, the more you grow. And the more you grow, the more confident you become in your ability to navigate through life, solve problems, and create opportunities. I've seen it time and time again. People who feel uncertain about their abilities, who lack confidence in a certain area of their lives, often do so because they don't feel equipped. They don't feel like they have the tools or the know-how to succeed. And that's where self-education comes in. Because here's the key. Formal education will make you a living, but self-education will make you a fortune. I wasn't born into wealth. I didn't have all the advantages some people think you need to succeed. But what I did have was the desire to learn. When I first got started in business, I didn't know much about how to sell, how to lead, how to build relationships. But I didn't let that stop me. I started reading books, attending seminars, seeking out mentors. I soaked up knowledge like a sponge. And every new piece of information I gained made me feel a little more confident. One of my greatest teachers, Mr. Schoaf, taught me the value of continuous learning. He said, you've got to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. I didn't fully understand that at first. I thought, well, if I work hard at my job, won't that be enough? But he explained that your job is only one part of your life. It can provide you with a living, sure. But if you want to live well, if you want to build lasting success and confidence, you've got to invest in yourself. You've got to become more valuable. And the way you become more valuable is through education, self-education. Now, self-education doesn't always mean formal schooling. In fact, most of the education that will truly change your life won't come from a classroom. It'll come from books, from experiences, from mentors, from the world around you. One of the best investments you can make is in your own personal library. Fill it with books that inspire you, that challenge you, that teach you something new. Read biographies of people who have succeeded in areas you want to grow in. Study philosophy, psychology, business, health, whatever is relevant to your life and your goals. And here's the thing, you don't have to read 100 books a year. Just start with one. One good book can change your entire perspective, and with it, your level of confidence. Let me give you an example. I remember reading Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. That book had a profound impact on me. Not because it told me something I didn't already know deep down, but because it gave me the language, the structure to understand success and the mindset that creates it. It was like a light bulb went off. And every time I read something new, I felt more equipped, more capable, more confident in my ability to create the life I wanted. But it's not just about reading. It's about applying what you learn. You can fill your head with all kinds of great ideas, but if you don't put them into practice, they won't do you much good. That's why I always tell people, don't just learn, do. Take what you've learned and use it. If you're learning about leadership, start leading. If you're learning about sales, start selling. If you're learning about health, start making healthier choices. It's in the doing that real confidence is built. Because once you see the results of your knowledge in action, your belief in yourself skyrockets. And another thing about self-education, it never stops. Confidence comes from growth, and growth is a lifelong process. You'll never reach a point where you know everything there is to know, and that's a good thing. Because the moment you stop learning, you stop growing. And when you stop growing, your confidence starts to stagnate. So if you want to keep building confidence throughout your life, commit to being a lifelong learner. Stay curious. Stay open to new ideas, new perspectives. The world is always changing, and the more you adapt and grow, the more confident you'll become in your ability to handle whatever comes your way. Start small. The key is to start. Don't let the perfect plan get in the way of taking the first step. Ask yourself, when was the last time you invested in your own education? I'm not talking about a degree or a certificate. I'm talking about learning something new, something that could help you grow as a person, as a professional, as a leader. If it's been a while, I challenge you to make a commitment today. Whatever it is, take action. Because every new piece of knowledge you gain is another tool in your confidence toolbox. Here's the bottom line. Knowledge breeds confidence. When you know more, you can do more. And when you can do more, you feel more confident in your ability to succeed. So, invest in yourself. Invest in your mind, your skills, your abilities. That investment will pay dividends for the rest of your life, not just in terms of success, but in terms of the unshakable confidence that comes from knowing you are always growing, always improving, always learning. Remember this, the more you learn, the more you earn. Not just in money, but in confidence, in opportunity, in fulfillment. So if you want to build long-lasting confidence, make self-education a priority. Because the person who keeps learning is the person who keeps growing. And the person who keeps growing is the person who's confident enough to handle whatever life throws their way. Next, surround yourself with the right people. Who you spend your time with has a profound impact on your confidence. If you want to build and maintain strong, lasting confidence, you need to be very intentional about the company you keep. The people around you are either lifting you up or pulling you down. They're either filling you with doubt and negativity, or they're supporting you. There's no in between. So the question is, who's in your circle? Who are you spending your time with? Because If you're surrounded by people who are constantly putting you down, criticizing your dreams, or doubting your potential, I guarantee your confidence will suffer. Here's what I want you to understand. Confidence is contagious, just like doubt is contagious. If you're surrounded by people who believe in you, who push you to be better, who encourage you to take risks and go after your dreams, that energy will rub off on you. You'll start to believe in yourself more because you've got people in your corner who believe in you. But if you're surrounded by people who are negative, who complain, who focus on everything that's wrong instead of what's possible, that negativity will infect you. It'll seep into your thoughts, and before you know it, you'll start doubting yourself, even if you don't realize why. I've seen this happen so many times. Tell me, who's in your circle right now? Are they lifting you up, or are they dragging you down? Do they believe in you, or do they make you question your abilities? These are tough questions, but they're important ones. Because if you want to build real, lasting confidence, you need to surround yourself with the right people. People who push you to be your best, who believe in your potential, who won't let you settle for anything less than you're capable of. Now, that doesn't mean you have to cut ties with everyone who doesn't share your vision. I'm not saying you need to walk away from family or friends just because they're not as driven as you are. But you do need to be mindful of how much time and energy you're giving to people who don't support your growth. And you need to make sure you're intentionally seeking out relationships with people who inspire you, who challenge you, and who help you become the person you want to be. You see, success and confidence are team sports. Nobody does it alone. We all need a support system, a group of people who push us forward when we start to slow down, who pick us up when we fall, and who remind us of our potential when we start to doubt ourselves. That's why one of the greatest investments you can make in your confidence is in your relationships. Find mentors who have walked the path you want to walk. Surround yourself with friends who have big dreams, who aren't afraid to take risks, who are committed to their own personal growth. Because when you're around people like that, you can't help but grow too. And here's another thing. It's not just about who you spend your time with. It's about the quality of those relationships. Are you having deep, meaningful conversations with the people around you? Or are you just talking about the weather? Are your interactions uplifting and motivating, or are they draining and discouraging? Quality matters just as much as quantity when it comes to relationships that build confidence. One of the things I've learned is that confidence is built in community. When you're part of a group of like-minded people, people who share your values, your goals, and your commitment to growth, you become stronger. You start to believe in yourself more because you see the people around you believing in themselves. It creates a positive cycle. Their confidence boosts your confidence, and your confidence boosts theirs. So, here's my advice to you. Take a good, hard look at your relationships. Are you surrounded by people who believe in your potential? If not, it's time to make some changes. Start seeking out new relationships, new mentors, new communities where confidence is the norm, not the exception. Remember, confidence isn't built in isolation. It's built in the company of people who see the best in you, even when you can't see it in yourself. So surround yourself with the right people and watch how your confidence grows as a result. Next, failure as part of the process. Now, this might seem counterintuitive at first. Failure and confidence don't seem like they go together, do they? Most people think confidence comes from success, from getting things right, from winning. But here's what's important. Real confidence isn't built from avoiding failure. It's built from understanding that failure is a necessary part of the journey to success. The more comfortable you get with failure, the more confident you'll become. And I get it. I hear it all the time. Failure hurts. It's embarrassing. It knocks me down. And you're right, failure isn't fun. But here's what you have to remember. Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of the same path. Everyone who has ever succeeded at anything has failed many, many times. The difference between people who build lasting confidence and those who don't is how they respond to failure. Mr. Shoaff said, failure is simply a few errors in judgment repeated every day. But success is the opposite. It's a few simple disciplines practiced every day. The key is to learn from those errors and keep moving forward. That was a game changer for me. I realized that failure wasn't a dead end. It was feedback. It was telling me where I needed to improve, where I needed to adjust, where I needed to grow. And the more I embraced that mindset, the more confident I became in my ability to succeed. Because here's the thing. When you're no longer afraid of failing, when you understand that failure is just part of the process, it stops holding you back. You start to take more risks, try more things, and as a result, you grow more confident. Ask yourself, how do you react when you fail? Do you beat yourself up? Do you start doubting your abilities? Do you let it stop you from trying again? Because if that's the case, it's time to change your relationship with failure. Instead of seeing it as a reflection of your abilities, start seeing it as a tool for learning and growth. Every time you fail, you're learning something valuable about yourself, about the process, about what works and what doesn't. And that learning is what leads to success. Imagine you're learning to ride a bike. Now, nobody gets on a bike for the first time and rides perfectly. What happens? You wobble, you fall, you scrape your knees. But does that mean you can't ever ride a bike? Of course not. You get back on, a little wiser, a little more aware of how to balance, how to steer, how to move forward. And eventually, after enough practice and enough falls, you're riding confidently. The same is true in life. Every time you fall, you're learning. And every time you get back up, your confidence grows. And here's something to consider. The fear of failure is often worse than the failure itself. How many times have you avoided doing something because you were afraid it wouldn't work out? Maybe you didn't apply for that job because you didn't think you'd get it. Maybe you didn't ask that person out because you feared rejection. Or maybe you didn't pursue a dream because you were afraid of falling short. But here's the truth. In avoiding failure, you're also avoiding success. You're playing small, staying in your comfort zone. And that's no way to build confidence. So, if you want to be more confident, you have to get comfortable with the idea of failing. Not just comfortable, embrace it. See it as a badge of honor. Because every failure means you're trying, you're learning, you're growing. And the more you fail, the closer you get to success. Now, I want to be clear. This doesn't mean you should go out and fail on purpose. What I'm saying is that when failure happens, and it will, you need to see it as part of the process, not the end of the road. You need to extract the lesson, make adjustments, and keep moving forward. Every time you do that, you build resilience. And resilience is one of the key ingredients of lasting confidence. Ask yourself, what's something you failed at recently? How did you respond? Did you let it knock you down for too long? Or did you use it as an opportunity to learn and improve? If you haven't embraced your failures yet, now's the time. Start seeing them as stepping stones, not stumbling blocks. Because here's the truth. The only real failure is the failure to learn from your mistakes. Success is going from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. Isn't that a beautiful way to look at it? Because it's not the failure that defines you. It's how you respond to it. It's your willingness to keep going, to keep trying, to keep believing in yourself, even when things don't go as planned. That's where confidence comes from. Not from getting it right every time, but from knowing that no matter how many times you get it wrong, you'll keep moving forward. So if you want to build lasting confidence, stop fearing failure. Embrace it. Learn from it. Use it as a tool for growth. Because the more you fail and keep going, the more confident you become in your ability to succeed. And that, my friends, is how real, unshakable confidence is built. Remember this, failure isn't fatal and it isn't final. It's just part of the journey. The only way to truly fail is to give up. So as long as you're learning and moving forward, you're on the path to success. And with every step, your confidence will grow stronger. So, building long-lasting confidence isn't about a one-time effort. It's not something you achieve and then forget about. No, it's a lifelong journey, one that requires constant attention, growth, and discipline. But the good news is by following these 5 rules, you can build a foundation of confidence that will stand the test of time, no matter what life throws at you. But remember, confidence is built over time, through action, through learning, and through resilience. It's not about never failing, never doubting, or never feeling fear. It's about how you respond to those moments. It's about what you do next. Confidence comes from knowing that you can rely on yourself, that you have the tools, the mindset, and the support system to handle whatever comes your way. Take these 5 rules and start applying them in your life today. Remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about making progress. Every step you take in the direction of growth, no matter how small, is a step toward building that long-lasting confidence you're looking for. Trust yourself, stay disciplined, and keep moving forward. The more you do, the more confident you'll become, and the more you'll be able to create the life you want. It's about time, and in particular, the time we've been conditioned to take for granted. I'm talking about the weekend. Now, what's the common idea about weekends? Most people are waiting for them to arrive so they can shut off, shut down, unplug, escape. They spend the entire week just grinding, looking forward to those precious 2 days of relaxation. And don't get me wrong, rest is important. But ask yourself, is that what separates the top 1% from the other 99%? Is that what builds success? Is that the key to living an extraordinary life? No, it's not. The weekend is a hidden treasure chest of opportunity. It's that extra slice of time that you can use to leap ahead while everyone else is coasting. Think about it. When are your competitors taking it easy? It's usually on the weekend. And that's exactly why the weekend is for outworking the competition. I want you to imagine two people, person A and person B. Now, person A works hard Monday through Friday. They put in their hours, they give it their best effort, and they do everything that's asked of them. But come Friday evening, they switch off. They put their feet up, maybe have a drink, watch TV, go out with friends, spend the weekend doing anything but thinking about their goals. Person B also works hard Monday through Friday, but they understand something. They understand that while everyone else is relaxing, there's an open window to get ahead. So they use their weekend differently. They don't spend all of it working. No, that's not what I'm saying. They take some time to rest, sure. But they also carve out hours for reading, learning, working on their side projects, planning, and sharpening their skills. Maybe they're not putting in a full day of work on Saturday, but they're certainly putting in the effort to keep moving forward. Now, fast forward a year. Which of those two people do you think will be further ahead? It's obvious, right? Person B. And it's not because they're necessarily smarter or more talented. It's because they leverage the time that most people waste. They understood the power of the weekend. And that's the key here. If you want to be extraordinary, if you want to build something that lasts, something meaningful, you have to be willing to do what the ordinary won't do. And that starts with recognizing that the weekend is not a time to coast. The weekend is for outworking the competition. So what does that really look like? Now, I'm not saying you should work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'm not saying you should burn yourself out. There's a balance here. But what I'm saying is this. There's a mindset shift that needs to happen. Most people think the weekend is a reward for working hard during the week. But the top performers, they see the weekend as the foundation for the next week. They use it to gain momentum. Momentum is one of the most powerful forces in life. Once you've got it, it's easier to keep it going. But when you lose it, it takes a tremendous amount of energy to get it back. So, if you spend Monday to Friday building momentum, why would you want to lose it over the weekend? If you take 2 or 3 days off every single week, that's like hitting the reset button over and over. You're starting from scratch every Monday morning. Instead of building on what you did the previous week, you're rebuilding. The greats, the ones who truly excel, don't let that happen. They keep the momentum going, even on the weekend. They know that success doesn't care what day of the week it is. You spend just 2 hours each day on the weekend working on your goals, or even working on a project you're passionate about. 2 hours on Saturday, 2 hours on Sunday. That's 4 extra hours each week. Multiply that by 52 weeks in a year, and you've got an extra 208 hours. That's more than 5 full work weeks of extra effort. Now, do you think someone who's putting in 5 extra work weeks a year might have a slight edge over their competition? You bet they do. That's the power of consistent effort. And that's what separates the average from the exceptional. It's not about doing a lot in a short burst of time. It's about doing a little bit more consistently over the long term. You see, success is not a big thing. It's a bunch of little things done well, day after day, week after week. So when you think about the weekend, I want you to start thinking about it differently. Don't see it as time to escape. See it as time to invest. Time to invest in your future. Because here's the truth. While everyone else is resting, while everyone else is taking it easy, you have the opportunity to put in the work that will set you apart. I've always believed in the philosophy that you should work harder on yourself than you do on your job. And the weekend is the perfect time to do that. Maybe during the week you're busy with your career, your job, your responsibilities. But the weekend, that's when you can focus on yourself. That's when you can read the books, listen to the seminars, write down your goals, and plan out your vision. Think about it. What would happen if you spent your weekends improving yourself by just 1% every week? Just 1%. It sounds small, but over time, that compounds. Over a year, that's a 52% improvement. And that's huge. That's life-changing. But it doesn't happen by accident. It happens by choice. It happens when you decide that the weekend is for outworking the competition. And most people will say, don't I need time to rest? Don't I need time to enjoy myself? Absolutely you do. But I'm telling you, the joy you get from spending time working on your dreams, from seeing progress, from feeling like you're moving forward, that joy is different from the temporary pleasure you get from sitting on the couch and doing nothing. There's nothing wrong with taking a break. But here's what you need to remember. Life rewards effort. Life rewards those who are willing to put in the work when no one else is watching. You've got to fall in love with the process. You've got to fall in love with the grind. And that's especially true on the weekend. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. And that bridge is built day by day, week by week. But the challenge is, most people don't want to build it on the weekends. Most people think discipline is something you apply Monday through Friday. But discipline doesn't take days off. Discipline doesn't care if it's Saturday or Sunday. It's there, ready for you to pick it up and use it. And here's something else. The weekend is also a great time to get creative. You know, sometimes during the week, we get caught up in the routine. We get so busy doing what we need to do that we don't have time to think creatively, to explore new ideas, to dream big. The weekend is perfect for that. When your mind is a little more relaxed, when you're not as rushed, that's when you can start to think outside the box. That's when you can brainstorm, come up with new strategies, and start thinking about how you're going to take things to the next level. I want you to see the weekend as your laboratory. It's your time to experiment. Try new things. See what works. See what doesn't. Use that time to test out new ideas, new approaches, new habits. Because that's how you grow. That's how you evolve. And that's how you stay ahead of the competition. Now, when I say the weekend is for outworking the competition, I don't just mean the people around you. Sure, there are always going to be people who are working hard, and you want to stay ahead of them. But the real competition, the most important competition, is with yourself. It's about being better today than you were yesterday. It's about improving just a little bit every single day, every single weekend. And here's the truth. You don't have to be the best in the world on day one. You don't even have to be the best on day 100. You just have to be willing to keep getting better. Weekends are your opportunity to do that. While everyone else is staying the same, you're improving. While everyone else is coasting, you're moving forward. And over time, that difference adds up. It's like compound interest. Small improvements over a long period of time lead to massive results. Mr. Shove taught me something that changed the way I looked at time and effort. He said, success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. Think about that. Simple disciplines practiced every day. Not just Monday through Friday. Not just when you feel like it. Every day, including the weekends. That's why the weekend is so important. It's a time to practice discipline. It's a time to reinforce the habits that will lead you to success. It's a time to put in the work that others aren't willing to do. Here's a huge key to success. Understand that it's not just what you do during the day that matters. It's what you do in those quiet hours when the day is winding down that can shape your future just as much. Those moments before sleep, they're powerful. The day is done, the rush is over, but this is when successful people really set themselves apart. It's how they close out the day that helps them start the next one on the right foot. Successful people have habits, disciplines, routines. But it's not just about what happens when the sun's up. It's about what they do right before they turn off the lights. What happens in those last few moments before their head hits the pillow. Why is this important? Your night routine can be just as critical as your morning routine. The decisions you make before bed can either set you up for a productive, powerful tomorrow or leave you scrambling, stressed, and behind. The goal is to lay the foundation for the next day, while also ensuring that you rest well, recharge, and rejuvenate. But I'm telling you, none of this happens by accident. Success never comes from luck or happenstance. It comes from being intentional, from knowing what's important and making sure you give it your time and energy. So, what are those things that successful people do before they go to bed? What are the habits that allow them to wake up with clarity, focus, and energy, ready to take on the day with full force? Let's dive into those routines, those disciplines, and understand how you can implement them in your life. Because when you start shaping your evenings with success in mind, you'll begin to see a whole new level of results. The first thing successful people do before bed is they review their day. They take the time to reflect on what they accomplished, what went well, and what could have been done better. Now, this isn't some long, drawn-out process. It's not about dwelling on mistakes or wishing things had gone differently. No, it's about gaining clarity. When you take just a few minutes to go over the events of your day, you give yourself the chance to learn. And learning is what makes the difference. It's about being honest with yourself. Did you hit your goals for the day? Did you manage your time well? Did you give your best effort in everything you did? You've got to ask yourself these questions, because if you don't, you'll never know where you stand. Most people go to bed without a thought about what they did that day, and they wake up just as unprepared for the next one. But successful people, those who are really serious about improving, they don't leave these things to chance. You might think that reviewing your day sounds simple, and it is. But that's where the power lies. It's in the simplicity of the act. Just a few minutes of reflection can provide a tremendous amount of insight. Maybe you notice that you spent too much time on distractions, or you realize that you didn't follow through on a key commitment. That's okay. The goal isn't to beat yourself up over it. It's to recognize it and adjust. Think of it this way. Every day is a stepping stone toward the future you're building. If you don't stop to look back and evaluate your progress, how will you know if you're moving in the right direction? Successful people take that time to review because they understand that the road to success is paved with awareness and improvement. They know that by recognizing what went well and what didn't, they can make better decisions tomorrow. And this reflection doesn't just stop at work or business. It's not just about looking at your to-do list and seeing if you crossed off all the tasks. No, this goes deeper. It's about relationships, health, mindset. Did you spend quality time with your family? Did you take care of your body? Did you maintain a positive attitude even in challenging situations? These are the kinds of questions you want to be asking yourself because they shape the overall quality of your life. Now, after reviewing the day, successful people don't stop there. They take that insight and use it to plan for tomorrow. Reflection without action doesn't lead to change. You've got to be willing to take what you've learned and use it to make the next day better. This habit of nightly review helps successful people stay on course. It helps them correct mistakes before they become habits, and it keeps them focused on what really matters. Here's the key. When you review your day, you have to be objective. Don't let emotions cloud your judgment. This isn't about feeling guilty for what you didn't do. It's about understanding why it didn't happen and figuring out how to fix it. Did you procrastinate? Did you let distractions pull you away from your priorities? Be honest, but be fair to yourself too. The goal is progress, not perfection. Now, if you make this a nightly habit, you'll start to see patterns. You'll notice that certain things keep showing up, both the good and the bad. And once you're aware of those patterns, you can start to change them. That's where the real power comes in. Reflection isn't just about looking back. So tonight, before you go to bed, take a few minutes to review your day. Ask yourself the tough questions. What did I do well? Where did I fall short? What can I improve tomorrow? And as you do this consistently, you'll find that your days become more intentional, your actions more aligned with your goals, and your results will start to reflect that effort. Successful people understand that every day is an opportunity to get better, but it all starts with reflection. Now, I'm telling you, once you make this a habit, you'll feel a sense of control over your life that you may not have felt before. You'll stop drifting from one day to the next, and you'll start living with purpose, with direction. That's what it means to review your day. It's not about perfection. It's about progression. So remember, the first thing successful people do before bed is they take the time to review their day. They learn from it, they adjust, and they prepare to make tomorrow even better. It's a simple habit, but like most simple things, it can make a world of difference if you commit to it. Success is built on these kinds of small, consistent actions. It's not the grand gestures, it's the daily disciplines. The second thing successful people do before bed is they plan for tomorrow. Now, planning, it's not something that just happens on its own. It takes intention, effort, and clarity of mind. But I'm telling you, successful people understand that if you want to win the day, you've got to start the night before. They don't leave tomorrow to chance. They craft it. They mold it. and they do it before their head hits the pillow. Here's what you have to remember. The mind is an incredible tool, but it's also like a sponge. If you leave your mind soaking in chaos, if you go to bed with worries, with an unorganized agenda, you wake up with the same mess. The night is a powerful time for setting your subconscious on the right track. Successful people know that when they take a few minutes to plan for the next day, they're actually telling their mind what to work on while they sleep. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. I'm too tired to plan tomorrow before bed. But here's the thing. Successful people don't wait until they feel like it to plan. They make it a discipline because they know that failing to plan is planning to fail. It's not just a saying, it's the truth. If you wake up in the morning without a clear plan, you spend half your day trying to figure out what you're supposed to be doing. And by the time you've got it sorted, half the day is already gone. So, what do successful people do? They don't wait until the chaos of the morning to decide what's important. They decide the night before. They take a few minutes to look at their goals, to assess what needs to get done, and they lay it all out. They make decisions in advance. And because of that, when the morning comes, they're ready to hit the ground running. Now, here's an important distinction. Planning for tomorrow doesn't mean filling up your day with busy work. No. Successful people don't plan every minute just to stay busy. They plan strategically. They ask themselves, what are the most important things I need to accomplish tomorrow? What are the high-impact activities that will move me closer to my goals? It's about prioritizing, not just making a list of things to do. Too many people confuse activity with achievement. They think, if I'm busy, I must be making progress. But successful people know better. They know that busyness is not the same as productivity. So when they plan for tomorrow, they focus on the few things that matter most, the tasks that will have the biggest impact, the projects that align with their long-term vision. Imagine you've got a goal to grow your business, or improve your health, or build a stronger relationship. Now, there are 100 things you could do tomorrow, but not all of them will move the needle. Successful people understand this. They know they can't do everything, but they can do the most important things. And that's what they plan for. So they take a look at their long-term goals and they ask themselves, what can I do tomorrow that will bring me closer to achieving this goal? They focus on progress, not perfection. And because they've planned ahead, they can go to sleep with a clear mind, knowing that they're prepared for whatever the next day brings. And I'm telling you, planning doesn't just stop at work or business. It's about the whole day. Successful people plan their personal time too. They don't leave their health or their relationships to chance. They make time for their workouts, their family, their hobbies, because they understand that success is about balance. If you let one area of your life fall apart, it eventually affects everything else. So they make sure that their plans for tomorrow include time for all the important areas of life. Now, here's the beauty of planning. When you plan for tomorrow before bed, you relieve yourself of decision fatigue. You don't wake up stressed, wondering what you're supposed to do or where to start. You've already decided. You've already taken the time to prioritize. And that frees up your mental energy to focus on execution. You get out of bed with purpose, with clarity. And that's how successful people are able to be so effective. I remember a time when I first started implementing this habit, planning the night before. I found that just a few minutes of thought in the evening made a tremendous difference in how my day unfolded. I wasn't scrambling in the morning, trying to figure out what to focus on. Instead, I had a plan. And I'm telling you, when you have a plan, you move with confidence. You act with intention. And that changes everything. It's also important to mention that successful people stay flexible with their plans. You know, life can throw you curveballs. No matter how well you plan, things can come up. But because they've taken the time to plan ahead, they can adapt. They can adjust without losing sight of what's most important. Planning gives you that ability. It gives you structure, but it also gives you the freedom to pivot when necessary. So, here's the takeaway. If you want to be successful, if you want to achieve your goals, you can't afford to just wing it every day. You've got to be intentional. You've got to take control of your time. And the best time to do that is before you go to bed. It doesn't take long, just a few minutes to map out your priorities, to decide what's important, and to set yourself up for success. That's what successful people do. They don't leave tomorrow to chance. They don't wake up unprepared. They plan, they prioritize, and because of that, they're able to get more done in a day than most people do in a week. And it all starts the night before. The third thing successful people do before bed is they disconnect. Now, this one might seem simple, but I'm telling you, it's a game changer. In today's world, it's easy to stay connected to everything all the time. But here's what successful people know. There's a time to be connected, and there's a time to be unplugged. Why is this so important? Because your mind needs rest. And I'm not just talking about sleep. Your mind needs time away from the noise, time to relax, reset, and recharge. If you're constantly plugged into the world, you never give yourself the chance to step back and breathe. And that kind of constant connection can wear you down over time. Successful people understand that if you want to perform at your best, you've got to disconnect from time to time, especially before bed. Here's something to think about. When you're connected, when you're always checking emails or watching some late night TV, your mind is still working. It's still processing, still reacting, still engaged. And that makes it harder to unwind at the end of the day. You might think that spending those last few minutes before bed, catching up on the news or checking messages is harmless, but it's not. It keeps your mind running, and it makes it harder for you to settle down and get the quality rest you need. Successful people know this, so they make it a habit to disconnect before bed. They create a buffer zone between their waking life and their sleep. And that buffer is critical because it gives their minds the time to shift gears. They understand that if they want to wake up refreshed, ready to take on the day, they can't stay connected to the world until the very last minute. Now, disconnecting doesn't just mean turning off your devices. It also means mentally and emotionally unplugging from the day's stresses. We live in a fast-paced world, and it's easy to carry the weight of the day with you into the night. But successful people make a conscious decision to let go of those stresses before they go to bed. They understand that worrying about work or problems or the future while you're trying to sleep doesn't solve anything. It only makes it harder to get the rest you need. There's a story I like to share about a lumberjack. He was strong, fast, and eager to prove himself. Every day, he would chop and chop and chop. But as the days went on, he noticed that he was cutting down fewer and fewer trees. He couldn't figure it out. He was working harder than ever. but his results were diminishing. Finally, someone told him, "You've got to sharpen your axe." You see, no matter how strong you are, no matter how fast you can swing, if your tools are dull, you're not going to be effective. Well, the same is true for your mind. If you don't take the time to disconnect, to sharpen your mental axe, you'll find yourself working harder, but getting less done. Successful people know that to be sharp, to be clear, to be effective, they've got to take time to rest. And that rest starts with disconnecting from the constant stream of information. When they unplug, they're sharpening their tools for the next day. They're giving their minds a chance to refresh, to process everything that happened during the day, and to prepare for tomorrow. Now, some people might say, "But I need to check my emails before bed. What if something important comes up?" Well, here's the thing. Successful people understand that most things can wait until morning. In fact, they know that responding to an email late at night might not be the best decision. Why? Because they're tired. And when you're tired, your decision-making suffers. Successful people set boundaries around their work time and their rest time. They understand that by disconnecting, they're not missing out. They're actually preparing themselves to handle things better the next day. And I'm telling you, there's a peace that comes from disconnecting before bed. When you step away from the noise, you give yourself the chance to be still. You give your mind the opportunity to settle. And in that stillness, you can find clarity. You can think more deeply, reflect more clearly, and rest more completely. Successful people value this time because they know that real creativity, real insight often comes when the mind is at rest, not when it's constantly bombarded with information. Now, I'm not saying you need to disconnect for hours. Even just 30 minutes before bed can make a big difference. Take that time to be present, to reflect, or just to relax. You'll notice how much more rested you feel, how much sharper your mind is when you wake up. Successful people also use this time to reconnect with themselves. It's a time to recharge the mind and the spirit. It's a way to close out the day on a positive note, rather than with the frantic energy that often comes from staying plugged in until the last second. So here's the takeaway. If you want to perform at your best, you've got to disconnect before bed. Your mind needs rest, and that rest doesn't just come from sleep. It comes from giving yourself time away from the constant barrage of information. Successful people understand this. They know that by disconnecting, they're sharpening their tools, preparing themselves to tackle the next day with energy, focus, and clarity. Give yourself some time to unplug before bed. You'll wake up feeling more refreshed, more focused, and ready to take on the day. And that's one of the habits that sets successful people apart. They know when to connect, and they know when to disconnect. The fourth thing successful people do before bed is practice gratitude. Now, this might sound simple, but don't underestimate its power. I'm telling you, the attitude of gratitude, it's one of the most important habits you can develop, not just for success, but for a life filled with joy, peace, and fulfillment. Successful people know this. They understand that the mindset you take with you to bed is the mindset you wake up with. And gratitude, that's the key to unlocking a positive, abundant mindset. Think about it. The last thing you focus on before you fall asleep has a way of lingering in your mind throughout the night. If you go to bed stressed, anxious, or worried, chances are you'll wake up feeling the same way. But when you take a moment to reflect on what you're grateful for, you shift your mindset. You end the day on a high note, and you prime yourself to wake up with a sense of appreciation, optimism, and motivation. Now, why is this so important for success? Because success isn't just about what you achieve. It's about how you feel along the way. Too many people chase success thinking it's the key to happiness, but successful people know the truth. Happiness is what fuels success. And happiness begins with gratitude. When you're grateful for what you have, you create a positive, abundant mindset that attracts more good things into your life. It's the law of attraction in action. But I'm telling you, gratitude doesn't come naturally to everyone. It's a practice. It's a discipline. And like any discipline, the more you do it, the better you get. Successful people make it a habit to end their day by reflecting on the things they're grateful for, no matter how big or small. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as you take the time to notice it and appreciate it. So what if you had a terrible day? Nothing went right. Well, here's the thing about gratitude. It's not about finding perfection in every day. It's about finding the good, even in the midst of challenges. Even on the hardest days, there's something to be grateful for. Even if it's just the fact that you made it through the day, there's always something. And here's the beauty of it. Gratitude doesn't just make you feel good in the moment. It actually changes the way you see the world. When you practice gratitude regularly, you start to notice more things to be grateful for. You shift your focus from what's wrong to what's right. You stop dwelling on problems and start seeing possibilities. And that shift in perspective is one of the most powerful tools for success. Successful people don't live in a world where everything goes perfect all the time. No, they face challenges, setbacks, and failures, just like everyone else. But the difference is in how they respond to those challenges. They don't let negativity take root. They don't dwell on what's missing. Instead, they focus on what they have, on what's working, and on the progress they're making. And that mindset of gratitude allows them to keep moving forward, even in tough times. Learn to be thankful for what you already have while you pursue all that you want. That stuck with me. Because too often we get caught up in the pursuit, always looking ahead, always wanting more. But the key is to find contentment and gratitude in the present, even as you work toward your goals. That's the balance that successful people strike. They're grateful for what they have, but they're also hungry for more. Gratitude fuels their ambition, not because they're lacking something, but because they're excited about the possibilities. Now, successful people don't wait for everything to be perfect before they practice gratitude. They understand that gratitude is the seed, not the result. They know that by cultivating gratitude in the present, they're setting the stage for future success. It's not about waiting for the big win before you feel grateful. It's about feeling grateful along the journey. So, how can you start practicing this habit? It's simple. Before you go to bed tonight, take a moment to reflect on your day. Think about the things you're grateful for. And don't just focus on the big things. Look for the small moments too. The more specific you can be, the better. Whatever it is, acknowledge it, appreciate it, and let that feeling of gratitude sink in. And here's something else. Successful people don't just keep their gratitude to themselves. They express it. They make it a point to let the people in their lives know how much they appreciate them. Whether it's a colleague, a family member, or a friend, they take the time to say thank you, because they understand that gratitude strengthens relationships, builds trust, and fosters a positive environment. And those relationships, they're a key ingredient in long-term success. So, here's the takeaway. If you want to end your day like a successful person, practice gratitude. It's one of the simplest yet most powerful habits you can develop. It will change the way you see the world, it will boost your mood, and it will set you up for success tomorrow. Remember, gratitude isn't just a feeling, it's a discipline. It's something you can choose, no matter what's happening in your life. And when you make that choice consistently, you'll find that success follows. The fifth thing successful people do before bed is they visualize their success. Now, this is a powerful practice that goes beyond just thinking about goals. Successful people don't just set goals. They see themselves achieving those goals. They create a vivid mental picture of what success looks like. And they do this regularly, especially before bed. Why? Because what you think about and focus on before you go to sleep has a way of influencing your subconscious mind, shaping your thoughts and actions when you wake up. The mind works in mysterious ways. It's been said that the subconscious mind never really sleeps. While your body is resting, your mind is processing, dreaming, and working on the things you've planted in it throughout the day. That's why successful people make sure to plant seeds of success before they drift off to sleep. They use that time, those quiet moments before bed, to visualize their goals as if they've already been achieved. Now, why does this work? Well, when you consistently visualize your success, you're training your mind to believe that it's possible. You're creating a mental blueprint for your future, and your mind, being the remarkable tool that it is, starts to work on making that vision a reality. Your thoughts influence your actions, and your actions create your results. So when you're regularly visualizing yourself succeeding, you're more likely to take the kinds of actions that lead to that success. But here's the key. It's not enough to just think about what you want. You've got to see it in detail. Successful people don't just think, I want to be successful. No, they go deeper. They see themselves in that future state, achieving their goals, living their dreams, and overcoming obstacles. They feel the emotions that come with that success. They imagine what it looks like, what it feels like, even what it smells like. The more vivid the picture, the more real it becomes to the mind. Now, I'm not saying visualization is some kind of magic trick that instantly makes everything happen. But what it does is set your mind on the path to success. It gives you clarity, direction, and focus. And when you wake up with that picture fresh in your mind, you start taking the steps to make it real. Successful people know this. They know that by visualizing their success regularly, they're programming their minds to seek out the opportunities, the people, and the actions that will help them get there. And it's not just about visualizing the end result. Successful people also visualize the process. They imagine themselves going through the steps necessary to reach their goals. They see themselves tackling challenges, staying disciplined, and overcoming setbacks. Because here's the truth. Success isn't always a straight line. There will be obstacles, and successful people prepare for them mentally. They visualize themselves navigating those tough moments with confidence, resilience, and determination. That way, when challenges come up in real life, they've already rehearsed how they'll handle them. They're not caught off guard. They've mentally prepared for it. I remember hearing about an Olympic athlete who used visualization as a key part of his training. Every night before bed, he would close his eyes and see himself running the perfect race. He would imagine every stride, every breath, every corner of the track. By the time he got to the starting line, he had already run that race 1,000 times in his mind. He was so prepared, so focused, that when the actual race came, his body knew exactly what to do. That's the power of visualization. It's about creating that clear, vivid image of what you want to achieve and then feeding it to your mind regularly. The more you do it, the more your mind starts to believe it's possible. And when your mind believes it, you'll start acting in ways that align with that belief. Here's the thing, your mind doesn't always distinguish between reality and a vividly imagined scenario. That's why visualization works. If you keep showing your mind the picture of success, your brain starts to operate as if that success is already happening. It's almost like you're tricking your mind into believing that you're already living in that reality. And when you believe it, you start behaving in ways that make it real. But let me make something clear. Visualization isn't a substitute for action. You can't just sit around and dream about success and expect it to happen. No. Successful people visualize as a way to focus their minds, but then they take the necessary steps to make those visions a reality. The visualization is just the start. It's the mental preparation that gives you the motivation and the confidence to go out and do the work. So how do you get started with this habit? It's simple. Before you go to bed tonight, take a few minutes to sit quietly and close your eyes. Picture yourself achieving your goals. See yourself succeeding. Imagine the details. What does your life look like when you've reached that goal? How do you feel? What are you doing? And don't just think about the end result, imagine the journey. See yourself doing the work, overcoming challenges, and staying committed to your vision. The more you practice this, the clearer and more powerful the images will become. And here's something else. Successful people use visualization to reinforce their belief in themselves. They see themselves as capable, confident, and deserving of success. They picture themselves handling tough situations with grace and perseverance. Because the truth is, the image you hold of yourself in your mind often dictates how you show up in the world. If you see yourself as successful, strong, and resilient, you're more likely to act that way. If you see yourself as defeated or unworthy, that's how you'll behave. So visualization is also about building up your self-image, making sure it aligns with the person you want to become. So here's the takeaway. If you want to achieve success, you've got to see it in your mind before it becomes real in your life. Successful people visualize their success regularly, especially before bed, because they know that what you focus on expands. They create a clear, vivid picture of their goals, and they mentally rehearse the process of achieving those goals. And because of that, they wake up with clarity, confidence, and the drive to make their visions a reality. Tonight, try it for yourself. Before you fall asleep, close your eyes and visualize your success. Picture it in detail. And as you do this regularly, you'll start to notice that your actions, your thoughts, and your results begin to shift in the direction of your dreams. That's one of the secrets of success. The sixth thing successful people do before bed is they read. Now, I'm telling you, reading is one of the most underrated habits when it comes to success. But successful people know that the time they invest in learning and expanding their minds is one of the greatest investments they can make. They make it a point to read before bed, not only as a way to unwind from the day, but also to feed their minds with new ideas, insights, and knowledge that can help them on their journey. The mind is like a garden. What you plant in it will determine what grows. And if you're not careful about what you're feeding your mind, you might find it filled with weeds, negative thoughts, distractions, and limiting beliefs. But successful people, they're intentional about what they allow into their minds. And one of the ways they cultivate a fertile mind for success is by reading books that inspire, educate, and challenge them to grow. Here's something to think about. No matter how much success you achieve, no matter how far you go, there's always more to learn. The most successful people on the planet are often the ones who are the most curious, the most eager to learn new things. They understand that in a world that's constantly changing, knowledge is power. And they also know that the more they learn, the more they realize how much they don't know. That's what keeps them humble, hungry, and open to growth. Now, reading before bed serves a dual purpose. First, it's a great way to unwind and shift your focus from the stresses of the day. Instead of going to bed with your mind racing about work or personal problems, reading allows you to immerse yourself in new ideas, stories, or lessons. It creates a buffer between the busyness of the day and the rest you're about to take. And because reading stimulates the mind in a calm and focused way, it can actually help you sleep better. But the second purpose of reading is even more powerful. It's about continuous growth. Successful people are always looking for ways to improve themselves, and reading is one of the most effective tools for personal development. They use that time to learn something new every night. And over time, that knowledge compounds. It's like adding fuel to the fire of their success. I remember hearing a story about Warren Buffett, one of the wealthiest and most successful investors in the world. Do you know what he attributes much of his success to? Reading. He spends about 80% of his day reading. Now, that might sound like a lot, but it's not just about the quantity of reading. It's about the quality. Buffett understands that the more he reads, the better he's equipped to make smart decisions. He's constantly learning, constantly expanding his understanding of the world. And that's what keeps him sharp. Now, you don't have to spend 80% of your day reading to see the benefits. Even 15 or 20 minutes before bed can make a huge difference over time. Think about it. If you read for just 20 minutes every night, that's over 120 hours of reading in a year. Imagine how much you could learn in that time. Imagine how much more knowledgeable, more insightful, more prepared you'd be to take on your goals and challenges. That's why successful people make reading a daily habit, especially before bed. But what should you read? Well, successful people are intentional about what they read. They don't just pick up anything. They choose books that align with their goals, their values, and their desire for growth. The key is to find books that inspire you, that challenge your thinking, and that help you see the world from new perspectives. Now, I know some people might say, but I don't have time to read. Well, here's the thing. Successful people don't find time. They make time. They prioritize reading because they know the value it brings to their lives. They understand that investing in their mind is just as important as investing in their business or career. In fact, it's one of the most important investments they can make because the more you know, the more you can grow. And here's another thing. Reading doesn't have to be a chore. Successful people enjoy it. They find joy in learning, in discovering new ideas, in exploring different worlds through the pages of a book. It becomes a source of inspiration, a way to recharge their minds and feed their curiosity. And when you approach reading with that mindset, it stops feeling like an obligation and starts feeling like an opportunity. One of my favorite things to do before bed was to read books that made me think differently. Whether it was a book on philosophy or a biography of someone who had achieved great things, I found that reading helped me expand my thinking, see new possibilities, and stay motivated on my own journey. And the great thing about books is that they allow you to learn from the experiences of others. You can tap into the wisdom of people who have been where you want to go. You can learn from their successes and their failures without having to go through the same challenges yourself. So, here's what successful people know. Reading is not just about gathering information. It's about transformation. It's about opening your mind to new ideas, new perspectives, and new possibilities. It's about feeding your curiosity, challenging your assumptions, and expanding your understanding of the world. And the more you read, the more you grow. It's that simple. Now, if you want to make this a habit, start small. Set aside 15 or 20 minutes before bed to read something that interests you, something that will help you grow. And don't feel like you have to finish a book in one sitting. Successful people know that it's not about racing through books. It's about taking the time to absorb the lessons and apply them to your life. Even if you read just a few pages a night, those pages will add up over time. And before you know it, you'll have a wealth of knowledge that will serve you well on your path to success. Here's the takeaway. If you want to grow, if you want to become more successful, make reading a part of your nightly routine. Successful people understand the power of continuous learning, and they use that time before bed to feed their minds with new ideas, insights, and inspiration. Reading is one of the simplest yet most powerful habits you can develop, and it's something you can start doing tonight. Pick up a book that excites you, that challenges you, that aligns with your goals. Spend a few minutes reading before bed and watch how it transforms your thinking, your attitude, and your approach to life. Remember, success isn't just about what you do. It's about what you know. And the more you know, the more equipped you are to create the life you want. The seventh thing successful people do before bed is they set their intentions for the next day. Now, this goes beyond just planning or making a to-do list. Setting intentions is about more than scheduling. It's about deciding in advance how you're going to approach the day mentally and emotionally. Successful people don't just think about what they need to do tomorrow. They focus on how they want to show up, how they want to navigate the day, and what kind of energy they want to bring into every situation. Here's the key. Intention setting gives you the power to direct your thoughts and actions. It's a way of taking control of your mindset before the day even begins. Most people wake up and let the day run them. They get caught up in the chaos, reacting to whatever comes their way. But successful people, no, they set the tone for their day before it even starts. They decide how they're going to act, how they're going to handle challenges, and how they're going to stay focused on what matters most. Why is this so powerful? Because when you set an intention, you're creating a mental and emotional framework for the day. You're telling yourself, this is how I'm going to approach tomorrow. And that intention shapes your actions. It helps you stay aligned with your goals, even when things don't go according to plan. It keeps you grounded, focused, and in control. Think of it as setting your internal GPS. You decide the destination, and that intention keeps you on course, even when the road gets a little bumpy. Now, let me be clear. Setting intentions isn't the same as making a checklist. It's not just about deciding what you need to do. It's about deciding how you want to be as you do those things. You might have a day filled with meetings, deadlines, or challenges. But if you set the intention to stay calm, focused, and positive, you're much more likely to navigate those tasks with grace and effectiveness. Without an intention, you're at the mercy of external circumstances. With an intention, you're in control of how you respond to those circumstances. Here's another way to think about it. When you set an intention, you're making a commitment to yourself. You're deciding in advance how you're going to show up, no matter what happens. Successful people don't leave their attitude or mindset to chance. They know that how they think and feel directly impacts their results. So they take the time before they go to bed to set clear, positive intentions for the next day. Whatever the intention is, it gives them a sense of purpose and direction. I'm telling you, this habit can make a huge difference in your life. When you wake up with an intention, you're not just reacting to the day, you're leading it. You're guiding your thoughts, your actions, and your emotions. And that makes all the difference. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by the challenges or distractions that come your way, you're able to stay centered, grounded in the intention you set the night before. And here's something else to consider. Setting intentions isn't just about your work. It's about your whole life. Successful people don't just set intentions for their business or their career. They set intentions for their relationships, their health, their personal growth. They think about how they want to show up as a partner, as a parent, as a friend. They decide in advance what kind of energy they want to bring into every aspect of their life, because they know that success isn't just about what you achieve. It's about how you live. So how do you set intentions before bed? It's simple. As you're winding down for the night, take a few minutes to think about the next day. Ask yourself, what's important to me tomorrow? How do I want to feel? How do I want to act? What kind of energy do I want to bring into the day? And then decide. Set a clear intention in your mind. You might even want to write it down. Sometimes putting it on paper helps to solidify the commitment. And as you do this regularly, you'll start to notice a shift in how you approach your days. You'll feel more focused, more purposeful, and more in control. When you set your intention, make it positive and specific. When you frame your intention in a positive way, you're telling your mind what to aim for rather than what to avoid. And that makes a big difference in how you experience the day. Here's the takeaway. If you want to lead your life with purpose, start by setting clear intentions before bed. Successful people understand that how you approach the day is just as important as what you do during the day. By setting an intention, you're giving yourself the mental and emotional framework to handle whatever comes your way. It's a powerful habit that keeps you focused, centered, and aligned with your goals. So tonight, as you're getting ready for bed, take a moment to set an intention for tomorrow. Decide how you want to show up, how you want to feel, and what kind of energy you want to bring into the day. It's a small habit, but it can have a profound impact on your mindset and your success. It's easy to see that the habits successful people practice before bed aren't just about closing out the day. They're about setting the stage for tomorrow. They're about creating a mindset of growth, clarity, and focus that carries over into every aspect of life. Success isn't a matter of chance. It's the result of deliberate actions, both big and small, taken consistently over time. What's fascinating is that none of these habits are complex. They're simple, everyday practices that anyone can do. But that's exactly why they're so powerful. It's not the big, flashy actions that lead to long-term success. It's the little things you do, day in and day out, that shape your future. The secret lies in consistency, doing these things every night, even when you don't feel like it, even when it seems like they're not making an immediate difference. Over time, these habits compound, and that's when you start to see the real results. The 7 habits that set successful people apart. They understand that success begins in the mind, and that by cultivating these habits, they're not just preparing for the next day. They're preparing for a life of purpose, achievement, and fulfillment. Remember, success is a journey, not a destination. It's not about reaching a single point and stopping there. It's about growing, learning, and evolving every day. And these habits help you stay on that path. So as you move forward, I encourage you to start incorporating these habits into your nightly routine. You don't have to do everything at once. Start with 1 or 2 that resonate with you and build from there. The key is to stay consistent. Make these habits part of who you are, part of your daily rhythm, and watch how they transform your mindset, your energy, and your results. Success doesn't happen by accident. It's built day by day, choice by choice, habit by habit. And the way you end your day plays a big role in how you begin the next. So take charge of your evenings, set yourself up for success, and keep moving forward on your journey to becoming the best version of yourself. It's up to you to put these ideas into action. Because at the end of the day, it's the actions you take that make all the difference. No one's coming. I learned that a long time ago, and it changed my life. See, most people are waiting for a break, waiting for a miracle, waiting for somebody to hand them an opportunity. But I'm telling you, if you sit on the sidelines, hoping someone will come to your rescue, you'll wait your whole life. The cavalry isn't coming. There is no magic rope being thrown down from above. If you don't save yourself, you're going to stay stuck. Now, that's a hard truth, but it's a necessary one. We live in a world where people expect life to be fair. But fairness was never part of the deal. The sun doesn't rise for some and not for others. It rises for everybody. But it's your responsibility to rise with it. You've got to get up even when you don't feel like it. That's the difference between the person who makes progress and the person who stays behind. It's not talent. It's not luck. It's action. It's the decision to move, even when everything inside you screams to stay down. How many times have you waited for things to get easier? How many times have you told yourself, I'll start tomorrow? And what happened? Tomorrow came and went, didn't it? You thought the conditions had to be perfect before you could act. But here's the truth. The conditions will never be perfect. If you keep waiting for the storm to pass, you'll miss the opportunity to learn how to sail in the wind. Life is messy. It's chaotic. It doesn't come with guarantees. But you've got to get up anyway. Because if you don't fight for your own life, who will? Years ago, I found myself broke. 30 years old. I was embarrassed. I couldn't pay my bills. I couldn't even look myself in the mirror without feeling ashamed. But here's what changed everything. I stopped waiting for someone else to fix my life. I realized that no mentor, no friend, no family member, and certainly no government was going to turn things around for me. It had to be me. And the moment I accepted that, everything began to shift. Was it easy? Absolutely not. It was hard work, real, honest work. But once I took ownership of my life, things began to move. You've got to own your situation no matter how uncomfortable it feels. Ownership is the first step toward freedom. Because once you take responsibility, you stop waiting. And when you stop waiting, you start moving. A lot of people say, you don't understand. I've got too many problems. I've been through too much. I'm stuck. Listen, I understand pain. I understand being stuck. But I'm telling you, the way out is through movement, not excuses. Life has knocked us all down at some point. But it's not what knocks you down that defines you. It's whether or not you get back up. And that choice is always in your hands. Excuses are dangerous. They give you permission to stay where you are. But excuses don't pay the bills. Excuses won't help you grow. Excuses won't get you to where you need to be. At some point, you've got to stop making excuses and start making progress. Do you know what progress feels like? It's not always glamorous. Sometimes progress looks like getting out of bed when you'd rather stay buried under the covers. Sometimes it's showing up to the job you don't like while you build the life you dream of. It's putting in the reps at the gym even when you're tired. It's reading the book when your mind would rather watch TV. It's making that call, sending that email, and having that conversation you've been avoiding. Progress is not some grand event. It's a small daily effort, a decision to keep moving forward, inch by inch. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. There will be days when you feel like giving up. Days when it feels like the world is against you. Those are the days that will test you. But let me remind you, the only way to fail is to quit. If you keep getting up, if you keep moving, no matter how small the steps, you are not failing. You're learning. You're growing. You're getting closer to the person you need to become. And isn't that what life is about? It's not about what you get. It's about who you become in the process. I once heard a story about two men trapped in a deep, dark hole. They were sitting there waiting for someone to come along and pull them out. Hours passed, then days. One man finally stood up and said, "No one's coming. If we're going to get out, we've got to climb." The other man shook his head and stayed seated. "It's too hard," he said. "We'll never make it." But the first man didn't listen. He scraped his hands raw, he slipped, he fell, but he kept climbing. And you know what? He made it out. And do you know what happened to the man who stayed in the bottom of that hole? He's still there. Not because he couldn't climb, but because he didn't try. That's how life works. You don't have to be perfect to get out of the hole. You just have to keep climbing. And every time you fall, you get back up. You learn You adjust. You keep moving. There will be times when you doubt yourself. Times when the people around you doubt you too. But the only thing that matters is that you don't give up on yourself. If you get up one more time than you fall, you win. That's the secret. It's not complicated, but it is hard. And that's what makes it worth it. So, ask yourself, what's holding you back right now? What's keeping you down? Is it fear? Is it doubt? Is it the belief that things will never change? I've been there. I know what it's like to feel like you're stuck in quicksand. But here's the thing about quicksand. The more you panic, the deeper you sink. But if you stay calm and start moving deliberately, you can pull yourself out. Slowly, yes. Painfully, yes. But step by step, inch by inch, you will get out. You've got to learn to be your own rescue team. There's no waiting for someone to sweep in and make everything better. No one owes you anything, but you owe yourself everything. You owe it to yourself to keep going, to keep trying, to keep believing that something better is possible. Life doesn't hand out guarantees, but it offers opportunities if you're willing to take them. And taking them means action. It means getting up, dusting yourself off, and doing the work. Some people think that success is about luck or connections. But I'm telling you, the person who gets up and shows up every day will always outlast the person who waits for luck. Talent can only take you so far. Luck is unpredictable. But persistence, that's within your control. You don't have to be the smartest, the strongest, or the most talented person in the room. But you do have to be the person who doesn't quit. You have to be the person who gets up every time life knocks them down. When I started out, I didn't have much, but I had hunger. And hunger will get you farther than talent ever will. Hunger makes you get up when others stay down. Hunger makes you work when others rest. Hunger keeps you going when others quit. So if you're hungry, if you want something more, get up and go after it. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for the right moment. There is no right moment. There's only now. And what you do with now will determine where you end up tomorrow. You've got to take control of your own story. You've got to become the hero of your own life. Heroes aren't perfect. They're just people who refuse to stay down. And you can be that person. You can be the one who gets up, who fights back, who builds something better, even when it's hard, even when it hurts. So don't wait. Don't make excuses. Don't sit on the sidelines hoping someone will save you. Get up and save yourself. Because you can. And because your future depends on it. Attitude is everything, isn't it? It's not just something that colors your day. It's the determining factor in how high or low you'll go in life. Your attitude is like the set of a sail. When the wind changes, the same wind blows on us all. The difference in where you end up isn't the wind, but how you've set your sail. And that sail, my friends, is your attitude. That's a life-changing thought. Think about it. The winds of difficulty, the winds of opportunity, the winds of failure. Everyone faces them. But what makes one man thrive and another struggle? It's the way each man thinks, feels, and acts in response to those winds. We don't control the wind. We can't stop economic downturns, personal losses, or unexpected circumstances from blowing through our lives. But what we do control is how we adjust. How you respond to the challenges is what makes all the difference. That's attitude. And your attitude will determine how high you fly or how low you fall. Someone once said, the same boiling water that softens the potato hardens the egg. The situation isn't what matters. It's the character you bring to it that decides the outcome. I used to think success was about talent. I thought the people at the top had some special gifts that the rest of us missed. But over time, I learned something. Talent will get you in the door, but it's your attitude that will keep you in the room. If you've got a lousy attitude, it doesn't matter how skilled you are, you won't go far. On the other hand, if you've got a positive, growth-oriented attitude, you can develop the skills you need along the way. Life isn't fair, but attitude makes the playing field a lot more even. Have you ever met someone who's good at what they do, but nobody can stand working with them? They're negative. They're a drain. They complain about everything. You don't need too many of those people in your life, do you? And if you've got that attitude, you've got to ask yourself, how much is that costing me? Some people don't realize it, but their attitude is like a price tag that hangs around their neck. It tells the world what they're worth, and the world responds accordingly. The good news is you get to choose that price every day. Now, here's the thing about attitude. It's not something you inherit, and it's not something someone gives you. It's a choice, and you have to make that choice every single day. That's the deal. You can't just say, well, I'll have a good attitude today, and it'll carry me through the month. No. You've got to get up every day, face the world, and decide, what kind of person am I going to be today? What kind of thoughts am I going to allow into my mind? Because your thoughts become your attitude, and your attitude becomes your behavior. And your behavior determines where you'll end up. Do you know people who wake up every morning already defeated? They hit the alarm clock and say, well, here we go again. Another day, another dollar. They're not just losing the battle for success. They're losing before they even start. Their attitude has already put them at the bottom of the hill, and now they've got to spend the whole day climbing. But someone else wakes up and says, today's a new day. I don't know what's coming, but I'm going to give it everything I've got. That person is starting the day on top of the hill, and every step forward is a bonus. The difference? It's not circumstances, it's attitude. Here's a truth I learned the hard way. Your attitude doesn't just affect you, it affects everyone around you. In a business, if the leader has a poor attitude, it trickles down through the whole organization. Have you ever walked into a company and you could just feel the negativity in the air? The employees aren't motivated. Customers feel unwelcome. It's like a cloud hangs over the place. And most times that starts at the top. But I've also seen companies where the leadership has an incredible attitude, one of energy, enthusiasm, and respect. And it filters down to everyone. You walk in and you feel the difference immediately. People smile, they're helpful, they want to be there. That's the power of attitude. It's contagious. So the question is, what kind of attitude are you spreading? Attitude also determines how you handle failure. And I'm telling you, if you're in the game of life, failure is going to come. Nobody wins all the time. But the key isn't in avoiding failure, it's in learning how to respond to it. Some people hit a wall and they stay there. They say, well, I guess this just wasn't meant to be. And they give up. But others hit the same wall. And instead of saying, this is the end, they say, all right, what's the lesson here? What can I learn? That's the winning attitude. They dust themselves off. They figure out what went wrong, and they try again and again and again if necessary. Success doesn't come from never failing. It comes from never giving up. Mr. Shoaff said, if you want to change your life, start with your attitude. At the time, I didn't really get it. I thought, what do my thoughts have to do with my circumstances? But he explained it to me. He said, your circumstances are just the scorecard. Your attitude is what drives the game. You can't wait for things to change on the outside before you change on the inside. It doesn't work that way. If you want things to improve, it starts with how you think, how you speak, and how you act, regardless of your current situation. That's attitude. Here's another thing. A positive attitude isn't just about being cheerful all the time. It's not about pretending everything is perfect when it isn't. A positive attitude means facing reality, but not giving up hope. It's about seeing the problems, but also seeing the possibilities. It's about saying, this is hard, but it's not impossible. I've got what it takes to figure this out. That's the kind of attitude that separates winners from losers. And that's the kind of attitude that takes you places. Tell me, what do you tell yourself when things go wrong? Do you blame other people? Do you say, it's not my fault? Or do you say, what could I have done differently? The way you answer those questions reveals your attitude. And here's the truth. People with a winning attitude take responsibility. They own their mistakes. They know that blaming others doesn't solve anything. So they look inward. They learn. And because of that, they grow. Another thing about attitude, your attitude toward others matters just as much as your attitude toward yourself. Have you ever noticed how some people treat others like they're unimportant, like they're obstacles in the way? That's a losing attitude. People with a right attitude know that relationships are the real currency in life. They treat people with respect, with kindness, and with gratitude. And because of that, opportunities find them. People want to work with them, help them, promote them. Why? Because they've got the kind of attitude that attracts good things. I don't know where you are in life right now. Maybe you're on top of the world and things are going great. Or maybe you're at the bottom and everything feels like a struggle. Wherever you are, I want you to remember this. Your attitude will determine what happens next. Not your situation, not your resources, not even your talent. Your attitude. It's the one thing you can control, no matter what's going on around you. And when you take control of it, when you decide to have a winning attitude, everything else begins to change. Maybe not all at once, but bit by bit, things start to shift in your favor. So here's my challenge to you. Start paying attention to your attitude. Catch yourself when you start thinking negative thoughts. Replace them with thoughts of possibility. When you feel yourself getting frustrated, take a step back and ask, what's the opportunity here? And when you interact with others, do it with kindness and respect. Because attitude isn't just about getting ahead. It's about how you live, how you contribute, and how you make others feel along the way. And if you do that, if you consistently choose a positive, empowering attitude, there's no limit to how high you can fly. And that's the thing, isn't it? The sky isn't the limit. Your attitude is.